Hey everyone, I wanted to make one more video to just kind of wrap up this project because I went back and forth on if I wanted to continue to build out the sound system or if I just wanted to stick with the music. I think what I want to do is just stop here at the music system because the sound system is pretty similar, and I'm going to show you, what I did for a sound system portion. So you've already done the music. And the setup is the same, right? We've learned about how to use scriptable objects. So for example, down here, we have our music event. In the same way, we may have a sound effects one shot. And inside of here, I'm actually branching off from a sound effects one shot to a sound effects event or a loop. Like if you hear a heartbeat sound or something, you want that to keep looping versus like a gunshot is just fire it once and forget about it. But it's the same system. So if we were to come over here and we were to look at a sound, you already know that you can set up the data here, and then you can open your scriptable object, and then you can run a method called play one shot or whatever you want to do. So if you can see this, I'm just using inheritance here, but you don't have to. You could put this all inside of a single thing. You could expose this data right here, and then inside of here, you could run methods to calculate a random clip, for example, or to actually play it, just like we played the music. You could create a play one shot, give it anything it needs. In this case, I'm receiving a vector3 position to know where to play it. In this case, it's a button. I'm creating a button that we can preview it inside the editor. I did want to mention this as well because I am pulling some scripts from, I believe it was a tutorial by, I think his name's Richard Fine. Let me open this up. So this is the tutorial that I'm talking about. Richard Fine talking about scriptable objects. He actually links to his GitHub here, and inside of the GitHub you can find some scripts on what he was using. One of the things that he was using that I did grab was the code to have these variable sliders, which is pretty cool. So this is just one way that you can expand on your system to include sound events instead of just music events. But again, it's the same process. It's create scriptable objects that hold the data, and then take these scriptable objects. You can set up your sound manager just like your music manager and tell it to play sounds in a very similar way. And maybe this is good practice for you. Like maybe this is a good chance to implement some of the ideas that we did for our music manager to do something a little bit different, like play sounds. Because the goal of this series is not just to like give you a final tool. The goal of the series is to walk you through the thought process on how to build this, because I'm hoping that you can take this and build it and custom tailor it to yourself. This is always meant to be a learning series, not just a give you code. Like if I wanted to give you code, I would just say, here's the GitHub, download it, here's some instructions, and then that's all you would want and all you would need. And I am actually going to link the GitHub that I'm, for my version of this tool. If you want to use that, you totally can. I'm going to keep updating that and putting that into the GitHub. I'll link that in the comments or for your own reference. But my hope is that at this point, instead of continuing the video series to walk through step-by-step how to do a sound manager, it's gonna be very similar. And in the end, I think the concepts are similar enough that it would be good practice for you all. So yeah, those are just some things that you could do to expand. Sound manager, you could add that. If you want to see my solution for it, you can look at the GitHub. If you want to try and build that yourself, again, just remember scriptable object, define the data, tell the scriptable object to play, define your sound manager. Inside the sound manager, you could create little objects. I'll tell you one thing that I did with the sound manager is object pooling. So if I click down here, so if we press a button, create the sound manager only whenever we need it, right? So our lazy instantiation. And you can see that we are using object pooling here. So we have these 5 sound sources, and when we need one, we were grabbing it, telling it to play, and then putting it back. Remember I said that you could do this with your music as well if you wanted to, but I'm not even sure I want to yet because I think that would be too many audio sources for not enough gain for very rare scenarios. So I don't know, use it however you want, and that's kind of how I'm doing it. And if you want to see the code for this, you can check out the GitHub. I just wanted to wrap up here and just show you how you could expand on this more if you want. I think, walking through the music, that's the cool stuff to me and the complicated stuff. But most games are going to have sound effects as well. So you could expand the same tool into there, or you could make a separate tool to do that if you want to compartmentalize it. But I hope that this series walked you through the process of how you could start putting this together. And you can even customize this even more with like editor scripting or building custom windows. I didn't even want to get into that in this series because I wanted it to like, not get too advanced too quickly before we just make the tool functional. But if you wanted, you could make custom windows with custom graphics and, do more of this kind of these custom tools and editors to define ranges for things. You could really take this further. And, my goal is that you could start creating a tool that you could just add functionality to over time and then save yourself work on your own projects in the long term. So this is mostly just a wrap-up video just to tell you where you could take this and how you could further expand on this, and just to explain that I would rather for the sound system part that you can see what I did in GitHub, or you could try to build that part yourself if you want, but I think it's a good opportunity to start to branch off and customize it. So thanks for hanging in there. I know it's a long tutorial series. These videos were long to edit and put together, but I hope this showed you a method for how you can start to build your own tools, and hopefully you carry that out into other parts as well, like UI or other game systems that you can reuse and upkeep inside of a GitHub project. So thanks for hanging in there, and I will see you all around.